Today I'm going to be making a very easy hamburger stew. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a quart of water into a crock pot. Today I plan on cleaning all day until I collapse, so I want this to be quick and easy and let it cook while I am cleaning. So a quart of water, that's my goal. I'm using a package of mixed vegetables. I'm just going to throw it all in and leave it. I have in the freezer, this you can hardly tell what it is, but this is a half of a can of tomato paste. And I had used the other half previously for something else. And I had it in the freezer, so I need it for my stew. Instead of throwing out the other half, because some recipes call for 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons, I freeze it. So that's what this is. And all this stuff is frozen right now. And then I have a package of grass-fed beef. It's 80-20. You can put in your favorite, you can even do 90%. You can even have a steak ground up. The less fat, the better, because I'm not going to drain the fat. I'm not going to pre-cook this. I'm just going to put it all in. Like I said, I want this to be easy. You have to pre-cook everything, then it becomes a time task. So now I'm just going to plop this in. And once this thaws a bit, I will break it up. But I'm just putting everything in frozen at this state. And then I will show you as I break it up. But this is just to get it cooked and going so I can start cleaning. Okay, I'm just taking it out of the frozen package. I did not leave this on the counter at all, so it is pretty frozen. It hasn't even started thawing yet. And that will cook in. But that's fine, we're going to let it sit all day. And then I'm going to put my cover on at this state and let all of that thaw. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some seasonings. I'm going to start with some cayenne pepper. I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And then you can always adjust it after to your taste. But I like it not as hot at first. And then once it cooks a while, taste to see how hot it is. And then obviously you can adjust it in your bowl when you're eating it too, because some family members in my family like it hotter than others, and so I only do 1/8 of a teaspoon. Do that to your preference. I'm going to add next, I'm going to add a teaspoon of Italian seasoning mix. It's a seasoning blend. I'm going to show you the package after I scoop it out right here. It's an Italian seasoning blend. You can use oregano if you don't have this. And then I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon of garlic salt. You could use garlic powder instead of the salt if you don't want salt. You can also use fresh garlic, but I'm making this quick and I'm not going to run to the market right now. And then I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Right here, I'll show you the package. It's just plain onion powder. And then I'm going to grind some black pepper. And I'm going to do approximately 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Now with pepper, some people like it stronger, just like the cayenne pepper. My grandmother loved it really strong pepper. And I like it kind of weak. So I'm going to do approximately 1/2 teaspoon, and then of course you can adjust it to your tastes. For some reason I tend to overdo my pepper. I'm going to add 3 bay leaves. I really like the bay flavor. I really think this makes a difference when you're making soups. So that's a pretty big one. So I'm just going to add another big one. So I've got 2 big ones. And then I'm going to do parsley. I love parsley in the soup. I'm do a heaping tablespoon of parsley. And then after this cooks a little bit, it's been cooking for 45 minutes, just as I was making lunch and getting ready. You can put the seasonings in at any point, really. After this cooks a little bit, I will add a can of corn. I want my hamburger to break up a little bit. And then I'm going to add, the last thing I'll add is the cut green beans. You can also add like white beans to this as well. Let me see if I can break up this any. So after 45 minutes, my frozen meat, I'm going to just break up a little bit right now, actually, because it will break fine. Still frozen a little bit in the middle. At this point, you can add a can of stewed tomatoes. I just don't have any on hand. I'm going to chop up some fresh and add that to it as well. And then I'm going to put in some fresh onions, which I'm going to chop up now, and some celery. And then I'll get back to cleaning. Still not quite frozen, but that's fine. So right now, I'm going to quickly cut up that stuff and add it to it. And then it'll be good for the day for me to clean. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a cup of the chopped onion and a cup of chopped celery. And the chopped celery was about, I'd say, a quarter of a package of celery. I just used the end part of it because I had that in the fridge. And it was a small onion I added. And now I'm going to do the tomatoes. I'm going to put tomatoes in. And then I had these really small zucchini in the fridge, but I want to show you the size of the tomatoes I'm going to put in. You can do a can of stewed tomatoes if you'd like, or you can do fresh tomatoes. I just didn't happen to have the stewed tomatoes on hand. This is the fresh tomato, so it's a pretty, I'd say a small size tomato. And I'm going to put 4 of them in. And then I had these really tiny zucchini in the fridge. And so I'm going to chop these up really fine just to add more vegetable to the soup. And then I'm going to throw in a small green pepper. Now I am going to add the tomatoes, and it was approximately about 1.5 cups, I'd say. I used 4 small tomatoes. And then I'm going to throw in 1 of the zucchini. I'm going to chop up the rest. I'm going to make sure that hamburger, which is thawed by now, I'm going to make sure it's all chopped in small pieces. I don't want it to be big hunks. Now I'm going to add the chopped pepper. I tried to chop it real fine, and the rest of the zucchini. Now my son isn't a zucchini fan, so I did peel the skins and then I chopped them pretty fine. I used a mandolin slicer so it was just fast. That's why I'm calling this a pretty quick and easy soup. Even though it's got some fresh vegetables, we've mixed fresh with frozen to save time. And then I'm also going to throw in a bag. I may need to add some more water. I'm getting a lot of veggies. My theory is the more vegetables, the better. And the longer you cook the soup, the better as well. Slow and low. My corn I am going to throw in now because that's a tough vegetable. But I did find these really beautiful fresh English peas in the fridge. So I want to use them up before they go bad. So I'm going to throw those in, but I'm not going to throw them in now because I don't want them to overcook. Like I said, I'm going to cook this most of the day. So I want to put those in, say, the last half hour or so, because I like those to be beautifully cooked, not overdone. But I am going to throw the corn in now, and I will wait on my green beans. That mixed vegetable that was frozen did have some corn, a little bit of corn, and a little bit of green beans, but it just didn't have enough of the green bean part that I really like. I guess I could, yeah, this looks pretty good. I do want some more corn in it too, but that's optional, adding corn. You know, however much of the vegetable, it's up to you. But if you look, it's pretty thick right now, and it's going to get more liquefied as it cooks. Especially the onions, they'll cook up to nothing. My celery's going to cook up to nothing. My zucchini's going to cook up to nothing in the end, and so will the tomatoes. But I will add probably a couple more cups, or maybe 1 more cup of water to this. But like I said, most of this is going to cook up, if you cook it all day, to nothing. But I want to leave out my green beans so they don't cook up to nothing in the end, and my English peas. But my corn is a tough vegetable, so I can add that now. I'm going to drain the can of corn. In the sink, and now I'm going to add it. I may add a half a cup at a time and see what, as I stir. I don't want it to be overpowering with corn. I'm going to see how much that is, and if I need to add the other half the can. We're almost at the top of my Crock-Pot here, and this is the pretty large size Crock-Pot. And you can see how the corn is just kind of coloring through this soup. I don't want one vegetable to overpower another. I want to stir that in pretty good. I only have about 1/4 of a can. I'm just going to add the whole thing. Because what am I going to do with the 1/4 of a can in the fridge, right? There. It's not much more. And that's a good color consistency. If you want to chop up some fresh carrots, you can. You see I have some from that frozen package. But I just want to get to cleaning, so I'm not going to bother chopping up any more carrots. I think that's good enough. But I did want that zucchini and tomatoes in there, onions and celery, because that's going to cook to nothing. Okay, it's looking pretty good. And now I'm going to cover it, let it simmer, probably 3 hours. Then I'll check it and see what's going on. And then I'll add my peas to it and my green beans, and we'll see what's going on there at that point. But let me simmer, and I'll let you know how it's going. I just added 1/8 of a teaspoon more of the cayenne pepper. It's been cooking for 5 hours, and I'm going to bump up some of the seasonings. Now that everything has time to settle and cook through, you want to taste it to see what you have to adjust. And it needed more cayenne pepper for me. I'm also going to add more parsley. I'm going to do another teaspoon of parsley. I'm going to add another 1/2 teaspoon of garlic salt. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Actually, this time I'm going to do the herbes de Provence. I really love this, and it has a lot of the Italian seasoning in it too. But this is like my favorite seasoning. When I go to France, I get a huge, and that's a healthy teaspoon. I get a huge bag of it. It lasts me a long year. And I'm going to crack some more black pepper. I'm going to do another 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper as well. I have a lot of vegetables in there, so that's why I'm bumping this. That's only about 1/4 teaspoon. So I'm bumping up the seasoning. And I'm going to add some more onion powder too, another teaspoon of onion powder. And then of course you can always pepper your bowl to taste, but it definitely needed more pepper. And then I'm doing another teaspoon of my onion powder right there. And then I'm going to stir it around and taste it and see what else I need to add to it. Right now it tastes like a hamburger pie, or a hamburger, like a Girl Scout pie. That's what it kind of reminds me of, except we're not using potatoes with it. Or a shepherd's pie. Right there. And then I'm going to cook it for about another hour. I am going to add the peas right now, and I steamed them in this bag for about 2 minutes. I have it on high, and it's been on high, but I'm not getting a huge rapid boil. I'm going to double check. No, it is on high. All right, so I'm going to throw in those, and then I'm going to throw in my can of green beans. And then we will see how that tastes. I'll check it in about a half hour. I just finished tasting it, and it did need some more salt, so I added some more garlic salt. I added 2 teaspoons, 2 pretty heaping teaspoons of garlic salt, and that did the trick. It brought out the flavors in the soup. So taste it, and then add little bits at a time of the salt to bring it up to how salty you like it. And the salt helps enhance the flavor. But I previously had added very little salt because I'm not a big salt fan, but it definitely needed a little bit more. So I'm going to now taste it and see how it's doing now. And I want to let the green beans cook for about another half hour.